She writes very correctly that the wise of old days, and also Paracelsus, they healed diseases by bringing the sick parts of the body in connection with a healthy organism. And she points to fire philosophers and so forth. But when a sick person, a diseased person, tries to heal another diseased person, it's like the blind leading the blind. And so there is another possibility when a sick person, and you see this is also mentioned by great masters. There are gurus who take on diseases from others, and the guru gets the disease. This is karmically, if the karma of that person is that way, to take on diseases of others, be it, and so be it. But now we come to the fact that I mentioned moral purity. If there is immorality, if there is no moral purity, then it's even worse if such a person attempts to heal somebody else. For both, for the one who wants to heal and for the other who heals, in exclamation marks. Because you can also pass on a moral impurity to others. And this is very, very bad, also done by black magic and so forth. And there is no help against such a thing, and such a thinking. Hypnotic power. And so the medium is obsessed, possessed, and does more harm than good. In the end, only harm. So, Blavatsky points out that it's very important to study the teachings and the connection between the laws, interplanetary laws, and the occult powers of people. And if science and healers don't do that, they do more evil than good. And we have that situation today concerning vaccination and everything else. Mostly healers do more, also doctors, not all, do more evil than good, thinking mostly about how much money they can make with their patient. Blavatsky describes correctly the switch of cycles, and that there is an arising and passing away, yes, and that there are vibrations in the astral light. She quotes Eliphas Levi. If that is in accordance and in harmony with divine spirit, we would say the supermonad, it is good for earth, everything connected with earth. But if not, then we are in great danger, and this is the situation of today. And it has all to do with magnetism. So, she quite correctly says, we are walking magnets. So try first of all, by the teaching, to augment your aura, your magnetic powers, your magnetism, on the astral mental level, manas rupa, linga sharira, mental body and astral body and so forth. Then the physical will follow, but you can augment and help, of course, from the physical side too, by eating the right thing, by not soiling your body with drugs and so forth. And then Blavatsky goes very deep and reveals more and more of the secrets of nature, but she actually touches the veil. And people think when they read about that, this is the secret of nature. It is not. It is a tiny lifting of the veil. She quotes the Urelement, the basic element of ancient religions of mankind, being Sabaistic, and she says that those myths and allegories, if you would really research them, they confirm our exact astronomic science. And science then was not ready to accept that. Why? Because in Isis there was no deeper going. She couldn't. She did in secret doctrine. But people were clinging first to Isis and said, where are those secrets? We can't see them. So she's bragging. This was the problem. She mentions the power of Hercules and Thor, thunder god, and so forth. Well, they said, see, she refers to legends, claiming them to be true. She didn't go deeper, explaining what Thor's hammer is, and so forth and so on. She mentions female principles, and like Stonia, Vesta, the earth, Metis, water, and also the higher representation of all beings. She mentioned Orphic theology as the oldest of all theological systems. She mentioned Zeus metaphysically somehow, but of course, not going deeper, she left people to the assumption that theosophy is believing in Zeus and Hercules. There was a big problem in that, see? And they said, oh, she's a heathen. But she quoted and writes very clearly in Isis Unveiled that these are representations of physical activities, of physical properties, and concludes from that since millions of years, people knew already that which science knows today. And she says, Zeus, in later Pythagorean metaphysics, represented Trinity. And that the monad, developing from their invisible self. You see, this is very difficult now. The monad is the self. When you write here, the monad develops from its invisible self, the cause that will be active. It leads to the Pythagorean tetractys. Now, the monad manifests as a teaching of the Book of Life by reflection. It never leaves anything. Everything is always contained in the source. Never leaves the source itself. No. You could compare it to somebody who is in a room and says something to the people outside of the room, not leaving the room. This is a very poor comparison, but take it as what it is. For instance, like that. I have Isis Unveiled in front of me. She says, she quotes to Zeus, to all those, heathen, we would say now, terms, as a father, Poseidon, Dynamis, as son of power, and third, as the spirit or the Nu. And she quotes here and says that this triad, she always points to the triad, and that's where they caught her later. She said there's only 3. She never said about 7. Maybe she had to add something now, and just adds 4 more. See, some nasty critics could argue like that. She says that in an Orphic hymn, Zeus will be mentioned as beginning and end, and that all things went from him, that he is a man, that he is male and female, the soul of all things, soul of the fire, of the moving power of the fire, that Zeus is sun, moon, source of the ocean, that he is, and that is very dangerous, dear friends, to say that. And I can understand the masters when they said, we are very unhappy about the use of Blavatsky, use of the term God. She says Zeus is the creator God of the universe. It's not true. It is not true if we don't have more basic knowledge. There is no creator God of the universe. It's only a law. When those beings who are always hidden, always in the core, reflect into material world, they experience a law. The law of karma and reincarnation. This is what happens. She says then, and I can see almost the masters raising eyebrows, one power, one God, the mighty creator and ruler of cosmos. Dear friends, that opens a can of worms for those who want to do harm to the teaching. Then she says, and what she means is Adam Kadmon, yes, but she says everything. Fire, water, earth, ether, night, the tent of the heavens, Metis, the Sophia of the Gnosis, Sephira of the Kabbalah, beautiful Eros, Cupido, everything is in the huge dimensions of the glory, of the glorious body of God. Of God. Of a creator God. Now, she is quoting the hymns of Zeus, but she says that are the basics of all myth is contained in such a hymn. And she says that the extension of the creative imagination of the old, of the ancient, is in the same way, without dimensions, without frontiers, like the manifestations of God, she says herself. And we find in them, which is correct, by the way, the material for the allegories. But this use of the term God, this is a problem. And when I look back under G, Blavatsky, God, I have maybe, let's say, 100 quotations, God, where she mentions a creator God. And the masters were not very amused, I may add. She writes very correctly